Before we get into this video, I would like to thank my patrons, Harpy, Corporal Hot Pockets, and Salvatore Di Pietro. The three of you make this channel possible, and you guys are awesome. Hold on, 1 second. I literally forgot I had brought this up here. Oh, fucking hell. Where to begin? So I just finished Lightfall's campaign. Literally just finished. I give out. Okay, I'll probably do a proper video essay on Lightfall and my thoughts and feelings on it, but I just need. This is a rambler. This is a rambler. This is event. Lightfall. Where to start? All right. You know what? I'll just start with this. Is Lightfall good or bad? No. That's the answer. It's not bad. It's not bad by any means. But it's not good either. I think that after Witch Queen, after the stunning campaign of the Witch Queen and Savathun, this kind of boggles the mind. Like, how did we go from the incredible year-long build-up to Savathun, right? The year-long build-up to Savathun and her being disguised as Osiris and Bungie dropping little tidbits, and then them revealing that Osiris was actually Savathun, possessing Osiris, and then the entirety of Season of the Lost, chef's kiss of a season. And then we had the season finale where Savathun escapes, and then Witch Queen, and the whole story of Witch Queen. How did we get Savathun's whole story arc? Her entire story arc, and how that is a masterclass in build-up. And then we get this? Okay, so I apologize for that. I kinda sorta hit the spacebar on my keyboard and turned off and stopped the recording. By the way, if you hear my dogs or my family in the background, I apologize. This is a rambler, so hold on. Ugh, fucking hell. This is a rambler, so this isn't exactly going to be the highest quality video, but okay. I'm just gonna get into my spoiler-free review. I'm just gonna start with Lightfall story. I'm gonna start with a spoiler-free review, and I'm gonna start with let's just get the bad over with, right? Because I want to end this video on a high note. So we're gonna get the bad over with. Is Lightfall's story bad without spoilers? No, it's not bad, but it ain't great, it ain't good, it's just meh, and we deserved better. We should have gotten better. It seems to me like Bungie was held back by restraint. Bungie clearly had a vision, and they had to cut down that vision, not due to gameplay reasons, game engine reasons, or any sort of development constraints. As far as I know, Lightfall's development was actually a pretty solid development cycle. I don't know if that's I don't know if Bungie released a statement indicating otherwise. But as far as I know, Lightfall had a pretty standard and alright development cycle. Bungie was very passionate with Lightfall, but they were held back by restraint. Lightfall is supposed to be about the beginning of our end. For fuck's sake, they titled it Lightfall! Sorry. They titled it Lightfall. You don't... Bungie, you know what? I think a lot of the problems could have been solved if they had just not called it fucking Lightfall. Like, if they had called it something else, like the waves of Neptune, or waves of Neomuna, something to do with Neomuna, because for a thing called Lightfall, the Traveler was barely in it. It was all about this thing called the Veil, which was revealed at the end of Season of Seraph. So that's not a spoiler, and I suppose the Traveler thing is I'm so sorry for the mild spoiler. But it was they were held back by restraint. It seems to me like Bungie realized, had this big vision, this big apocalyptic vision for Lightfall, and they were like, well, we gotta dial it back a little bit, because we still got Final Shape, and we still have we still got Final Shape to do, and we have all the the seasons, right? So we gotta do the seasons, but this bit them in the ass. I've always said that I've had mixed feelings on the seasonal model, because on one hand, we've gotten some of Destiny's best content and storytelling ever, and the quality, with some exceptions like Season of the Worthy, Season of the Hunt, Season of Plunder. The seasonal model has improved overall the quality of Destiny. I know a lot of people will complain, but let's just compare it to the House of fucking Wolves. Destiny 1 Vanilla when it launched, or Curse of Osiris and Warmind, right? Let's compare it to them. Let's compare the seasons to them, and there's a big difference. Compare Season of the Splicer, Season of the Chosen, Season of the Lost, hell, even Season of Seraph, to Warmind and Curse of Osiris. There's a big difference, and the seasons were, objectively pretty better. Universally, all around, people have been saying that the seasons are good. But the problem with the seasonal model is that because everything is temporary, issues crop up. It's harder for newcomers, because newcomers have a shit ton of narrative content that they missed, and, well, how do I put it? It is kind of bad that you have to look up a fucking YouTube video to know what happened in Forsaken, the most pivotal moment in Destiny history, when everything started to hit the fucking fan. And so, as a result, because of the fact that Bungie has to have this seasonal model, Bungie had to show restraint. That's what I blame the issue on. That's what I think here. Bungie had to show restraint, and they were held back. So, do I have any solutions? No, I don't have any solutions. I'm not a game developer. I'm not a game developer. I don't know everything that goes on behind the scenes. I don't work for the studio, right? Sorry if you hear my family in the background. This is rambling. This is a Rambler video, so you're gonna have to hear some background stuff. Sorry. But anyways, uh, I I don't know. From what I do know, the part of the reason Bungie had to do the seasonal model is like, game engine bullshit, the things like that. You don't want the game to get bloated and stuff. But I if there was any solution, and it's not just me that said this. I've seen people in my Discord say this. I've seen people on Instagram say this, on Twitter say this. If it's even possible, because I'm sure if it was easy, Bungie could have done it, and they would have done it by now. But I think that a good way to solve this is like optional installs. Boom, bam. Just have take the Master Chief Collection approach. Where optional, the Master Chief Collection. It's like, do you want to play Halo 4's campaign but not have to deal with Halo 4's multiplayer? That's fine. You don't have to install it. You don't have to install any of the multiplayer. If you're just a campaign or firefight person, bada bing, bada boom. Just all you got to do is install the campaigns. If you don't care for the campaigns and just care for the multiplayer, install them. If you only care for some campaigns and some multiplayer things, just install whatever suits your fancy. Optional installs. It would make life so much easier. And then the way they could handle the seasons is just like maybe revamp the seasonal missions, the old seasonal missions, and like put them in a format where you could get the gist of the story without having to go through all the weekly stuff and all the activities. Because if they kept all of the seasons, all of the activities, all of the quests, the game would just be so over. Like, could you just imagine if we had to do like containment and the PsyOps battlegrounds, and then you had all the Splicer activities, and the Season of the Lost activities, and the Season of the Worthy public events, and not only would the game become bloated, it would also kind of like defeat the purpose of these cooperative events, because you would spread the player base so thin with so many different activities that require everyone's attention that it's like nobody's gonna show up. And I mean, could you imagine being a person who has to do Season of the Worthy public event bullshit in 2023? Nobody would show up. They'd be stuck on their own. They'd never be able to progress. So, and not to mention the amount like of public events that you had to do in Season of the Worthy. I could do a whole video essay on this, but Season of the Worthy, I like to call it Destiny's worst season, because like we actually had a revolt in the Destiny community. We had a revolt in the Destiny community, and it was so hilarious. In Guardian games, we had like, I think it was Guardian games, we had this whole thing where it's like, go complete more bounties because you've been doing more bounties all fucking season for the fucking public events. Well, fuck you! More bounties! And the whole community just like fucking protested Guardian games, which in of itself was a fucking clusterfuck because everything was imbalanced, and the Titans were like had their medals had too much weight, and then like the Hunters and Warlocks had too little weight, and then the next year the roles were like fucking reversed and things like that. But anyways, back to it. Bungie's like just restricted, and I get the issue with the seasonal model, but I also get why they're doing the seasonal model. And I don't think it's like all the seasonal model. I think a part of it is also actually a big part of it, if not bigger part of it, is also the fact that like the final shape is a thing, right? What I have noticed about Destiny's DLC, however, is Bungie relies on their seasons to expand on it, and that's both awesome and also not awesome. I think Witch Queen is the perfect example of this, where like we're dealing with Savathun in the Witch Queen, but Season of the Risen really kind of deals with the fallout of this and kind of starts setting up the coalition, as it's called. And we start to work more with Keitel and her cabal, and we learn more about her, right? And that just builds off of the Witch Queen, and then Season of the Haunted builds off of the events of Season of the Risen, where now Callus's thing has returned, and we're really seeing the shades of Keitel. We're really seeing the shades of Crow, who was brought back in season of the Hunt, and how, well, technically he was brought back in Forsaken, but like we never knew about it. We didn't really hear from him until Season of the Hunt. But I digress. Or how Crow got his memories back from Savathûn in Season of the Lost, and now we're seeing how Crow is coping with this. We get to learn more about Savala and things like that in Season of the Haunted. Haunted was like a really dark story, right? And then Season of the Season of Plunder, while it has its issues, we get to learn more about Mithrax and the House of Light and develop him after Season of the Splicer, right? And then we also get that kind of shoehorned ending in with Comatose Osiris, and how we turned a corpse into a tea and had the Comatose Osiris drink it, and that woke him up. And then that ties into Witch Queen, because now Osiris has all his memories. And so then it all coalesces and comes together with the Coalition working together in Season of the Seraph to bring back Rasputin and things like that. And then it ties back to like Shadowkeep with Clovis Bray and his darkness stuff. And then like Aramis, not Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, with Aramis and Clovis Bray and things like that, and it all builds off of the pre-existing story beats, and then it all comes to a head towards the end. Then of course the build-up with Xivu Arath that we've had since Season of the Hunt, and even before that. The point is that Bungie relies on its seasons to basically improve the quality of its previous DLC. Because like for someone like me or my buddy Sheer, who's like been with Destiny for, since the early days, and we've stuck through it and we've been through all the seasons, to us the story seems like pretty good, right? The story seems solid. We could see like, why this is happening and why this is happening and why this character feels this way and how this character has evolved that way. But to someone who missed a season, there's like a shit ton of holes and gaps. And then Lightfall really like it suffers from the same issue Beyond Light had, where like Beyond Light relied too much on like new subclass and focused so much on that, and then kind of relied on the seasons afterwards to build off of that. So yeah, I think the seasonal model is starting to show its problems. So now I'm gonna get into the spoiler territory after ranting for like 17 minutes, give or take. So where to even begin? So right off the bat, Lightfall opens up with, you know what? Last spoiler warning. Okay, last spoiler warning. Leave now if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so Lightfall opens up with the Witness basically making a move on the Traveler, right? The Witness makes a move on the Traveler, and we're trying to stop them, right? We're trying to stop it from reaching the Traveler, and the Witness mauls us. We see a little taste of the Witness's power. Like, this was a pretty good cutscene, all things considered. So the Witness moves towards the Traveler, right? The Witness moves towards the Traveler, and then the Witness, some pyramid ships like surround the Traveler. It almost, like on the Discord, it kind of reminds us of a flower which is reminiscent of the flower game. Destiny has a very like big thing with plant life and and symbolism with plant life. From the flower game to the Black Garden to even like that beam the Traveler did shot, right? Not gonna lie, I kind of feel like the Traveler could have done a hell of a lot more in this. We've got lore of the Traveler doing some shit, right? We've got lore of the Traveler doing shit, like during the collapse, right? How it, and granted, we know it was more than the Traveler that warded the Witness off the first time, but we had some lore that showed the Traveler doing stuff. We didn't know exactly what the Traveler did, but we know the Traveler did something that was so big, it blew the Pyramid Ships and Witness out of the system, right? And it sacrificed itself and had to go into a coma, and it had to go to sleep, but right before it did, it created the ghost. It created the ghosts the moment it went comatose. And then that leads into, like, Risen being resurrected, blah, 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 lore stuff, city gets built, Guardians come about, leads to us eventually, kick off Destiny 1. Hell, we even saw the Traveler, like, do a fucking God wave in, okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but the Traveler showed an impressive display of power in the Red War with how it handled Gaul. And the beam it shoots, it's like, it doesn't even destroy a pyramid ship. It like, let's growing some plants. We're growing some plants on the pyramid ship, and we're doing a little bit of damage. And then that's it. Yeah, so the Witness reaches the Traveler and does a thing and has a vision and sees Neptune. And it's like, all right, Callus, go do my bidding, right? And so Callus goes. And you know what? Lightfall's opening was like, it could have been better, but it was actually like pretty strong, right? And so so Osiris is like, hey, I'm tailing along. I gotta, they know what the veil is. I gotta go follow them. And so we're sent after him to figure it out, right? And you know what? Just a quick caveat. If there is one thing the DLC handled really well, it's Osiris. Osiris was handled well. Osiris is a lot more like reckless. Osiris is definitely going through grief. They're a little unstable. And you know what? That makes sense. Osiris was possessed by Savathun the Witch Queen. And not only was he possessed by Savathun the Witch Queen and probably went through excruciating pain based off the details of the lore, he saw everything in Savathun's mind. And presumably that's not just the Amuna. We're talking about billions of years of genocide. I don't use that lightly. Genocide. Savathun has killed so many, committed so many atrocities, lived such a long life, even for someone like Osiris. That is going to traumatize you. That is going to mess with you. And couple that with the loss of Sekira, the loss of the light, the newfound mortality, and this feeling of helplessness, Osiris is understandably going to be upset. And quick to anger, and quick to act, and things like that. And all Osiris has left is, well, as far as he thinks, his pride. And that shows in abundance in this DLC. And he so desperately wants to redeem himself after what Savathun did using his face. He wants to show himself so bad. And it's just pushing the people away. I mean, there was this one really, you know what? I was kind of sad to see him arguing with Saint, who, by the way, for those of you that don't know, Saint 14 and Osiris are lovers. And, I think Osiris has done really well. And hell, even Osiris's impatience with us and our, struggle to use Strand, which I'll get to in a second. But anyways, back to like the whole story. So we reach Neomuna, right? So the Cloud Striders are like, "Whoa, who are you? Identify yourself." Initially, and we're like, "Well, we're from Earth." And you know what? It makes sense that the Cloud Striders are like, okay, you know what? We'll address this later, right? Because your city just got invaded. A giant fuck all ship just flattened half your city. Yeah, you're gonna wanna you know. Even though it's heavily implied Neomuna has its problems with the light bearers, it makes sense that they would basically be like, you know what, enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's just focus on this invasion right now. So there's that, and I actually liked Rohan and Nimbus. However, uh, so that gets into Rohan's death. Rohan's death was meh. They kind of set it up like, oh, we're this thing that's supposed to destroy the veil or whatever, or make a connection to the veil or whatever. We gotta destroy it, right? And they like make it out to be that Strand is the only thing that can do it, right? But we're not able to do it. So Rohan's like, well, you know what? Fuck it, and blows himself up, and somehow that does the job, right? And that delays Callus for a little while. Um, I was just kind of sitting there like, huh, huh, right? You know what would have been a little more impactful? And I know this would have been really dark for Destiny. This would have been really, really dark for Destiny, but Destiny is its lore and its story itself gets pretty damn dark. I think it would have been better if we had to use Strand to blow up the thing, but in the process it would have killed Rohan. I feel like that would have been a bit more impactful, because it like puts this personal thing on the player. It's like you're killing an ally in the process of this, right? You didn't know Rohan for long, but Rohan's definitely proven himself to be wise. He's proven himself to be reliable, and hell, he even helped Osiris a little bit, even if it was only briefly. And then so to have to be the one to end Rohan, even though he's at the end of his 10-year lifespan. Yeah, that's definitely gonna be a bit more impactful than Rohan basically being like, well, I guess I gotta sacrifice myself now. Um, though I will say, props to the VA, did a wonderful job. Now, Nimbus. I've seen a lot of discourse on Nimbus. There's mixed feelings on Nimbus. I personally love Nimbus a lot. I think Nimbus is really cool, right? So Nimbus is young. Nimbus is definitely like at most 18, if I had to reckon. Nimbus is very, very young and very like immature, and that's why Rohan was there. Rohan is the older Cloud Strider. Bungie themselves have explained that the older Cloud Strider is supposed to really help the younger Cloud Strider mature, right? Because the younger Cloud Strider, they have this sense of like invincibility, overconfidence, and that does kind of make sense. In reality, at the end of the day, they're still human, and if you suddenly like got all these augmentations, you're gonna be a bit confident, and so there has to be a level of mental conditioning to be like, hey, look, you may be strong now, but you're not invincible. You have your limits, right? So you have to learn to temper that. And Nimbus is still learning that, and Rohan died before Nimbus could do that. But Nimbus does actually start to mature as the DLC goes on. Have they like really matured? Do they become this grizzled veteran? No, they're still themselves. They're still upbeat. They're still jovial, and they're a little cute with how they act. Um, but at the same time, Nimbus is still impulsive. Nimbus is still like ready to go, raring to go, and they don't necessarily understand. I actually think the best example of Nimbus's flaws as a young character shows when actually at the end when um we deal with Callus, and it's definitely a more somber moment, right? Because Keitel, for Keitel, this is an emotional thing. This is a very powerful moment for her. This has her father has been such a plague on her life from an early age, and I mean, reading the collector's edition lore booklets and reading other bits of lore on Keitel, like and seeing the duality dungeon, there is a very big, very very big, well, how do I put it? Uh, Aspect of Callus that has influenced Keitel's life. You know how she believes, and so even though she hates her father and wants him dead, this is also her father, and there's going to understandably be this feeling of, well, despondency for her. And Nimbus kind of comes in, he's like, yeah, we did it, yeah, right? Not literally like that, but Nimbus is like, yeah, fuck yeah, we killed Callus. Didn't swear, but it's like, we got the bad guy, we saved the day, and like gives the Guardian an awkward fist bump, not really understanding things. And you know what? That makes sense. I mean, first of all, Nimbus lacks the how do I put it? Nimbus lacks the context of Keitel's life, right? So Nimbus doesn't really understand that. And also, again, Nimbus is at the end of the day just a superpowered kid. And Nimbus doesn't really know how to read the room. And that makes sense to me. And that's okay. That's okay. Nimbus is going to grow and mature, and I'm actually excited to see how Bungie handles that. I like seeing a character who starts off in this, with almost this naive, childlike overconfidence and wonder, and how they slowly but surely grow into themselves and learn about the realities of their situation, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't think Nimbus realizes what they've signed up for. They're going to die in 10 years. 10 years isn't a long time. And Nimbus doesn't seem to understand that, and that is very that's very realistic. A big part of growing up is learning. And a big part of, say, a parent's job is to basically, help their kid grow. And I'm not a parent, so I can't speak authoritatively on this, but this is just from my observations. It's to help their child grow, and to also, like, help them to learn when to do things and when not to do things. A big thing that my mother especially taught me growing up is to just, like, be able to control your impulses, really think things through, really look into things, understand things, right? And, well, Nimbus, it seems to me Nimbus didn't have that figure. And it seems to me like Nimbus's parental figure was Rohan, who only came into Nimbus's life after they became a Cloud Strider. So that makes sense to me. And it makes sense that Nimbus is going to be an impulsive, well, kid that doesn't really get it yet. So, yeah. But now we're going to get into the problems. So problem number one is Bungie made the same mistake they made in Beyond Light, which is they focused too much on the new subclass. They kind of relied on Strand as like their linchpin, right? Their linchpin. This is the thing that ties it all together, right? And that was a mistake in my opinion. I think that how we acquire, in terms of like Strand on its own, if we separate Strand from the Lightfall story, they actually handled it really well, and I'll get to that in a second. But in terms of how Strand was woven into Lightfall's story, too much of Lightfall's story was focused on acquiring Strand. I think that they did loop it in a clever way, right? With like the paracausal suppressing stuff. But at the same time, they should have done more. They didn't do enough to develop Neomuna. They didn't do enough to develop the Cloud Striders. They didn't do enough to like show. And the one who I'd argue got done the most in this DLC was Keitel. Like, this is a DLC where her father, Callus, her sworn enemy, shows up. And, you know, Keitel had a good entrance. She had a good entrance, and then she's just kind of there. She doesn't really do anything for the rest of the story. She gets no development. She gets very little development. She gets very little, like, time in the spotlight. And then she shows up in the last minute, and the times Keitel shows up, it's great, but she doesn't show up enough, which is a problem in a DLC dedicated to, once again, Callus. They've been building up this Keitel versus Callus confrontation forever. And then, of course, we have, like, this moment where Callus, like, is like, daughter, and he shows up, and it's like this big thing, and and then Keitel's like, well, better go on ahead, Guardian. I'll stay behind and fight. Like, huh? What? They just blue balls anyone that's been invested in the Keitel versus Callus story. And so Keitel just has to stay there, and then Keitel's like, I'm sorry, I couldn't fight them all off. I gotta retreat for now. Which, for the record, that's a very unfucking Cabal thing to do. If you are a Cabal, you stay and die, or you win. You either fucking die or you win. Retreat is not an option. They literally don't have a word for retreat, for God's sake. And Keitel retreats? No. Keitel got done dirty in this DLC. And the time they spent with Strand should have been spent developing Keitel, in my opinion. And the Cloud Striders and Neomuna. That said, Strand on its own was actually handled pretty well. A criticism I had with Stasis was kind of like, you know, it's like, all right, you touch a Doom Dorito, or a fragment of a Doom Dorito, right? And then you temporarily gain stasis powers, and and you kick everyone's asses, and there's no repercussions for it. There's no repercussion for it. There's no like training with it. You're just perfectly expertly able to do it. It's like a just a fucking MacGuffin that just gets shoehorned in, and it just works when the plot needs it. Whereas with Strand, it's not perfect. With Strand, you get like exhausted. It hurts you. It puts you in dangerous situations. It's this really difficult thing. In the entire arc, I'd say, of like getting Strand is really well done, because it's about learning to use it, and really learning to use it. You stumble, you fall, oftentimes quite literally. You struggle with it. It's very taxing on the player, but it works out. And as time goes on, you're slowly but surely able to work in Strand more, right? And then at the very end, you're able to use Strand like very efficiently, very effectively, and it helps you in your fight against Callus, and that's arguably what allows you to win, right? Whereas with Stasis, again, it was like, all right, touch Pyramid Flake. Congratulations. You have Stasis now. Only for a little bit. Guess what? Pyramids took it away. But don't worry, you were able to use it perfectly the last time. And then you get to the next boss. Hey, here's more Stasis again. All right, it's gone now. All right, moving on. Hey, look, Air misses freezing you. Time to use Stasis. because for some fucking reason you're able to look within and use stasis, and that's it. Now, they didn't really explain why Strand popped up. They kind of just was like, oh yeah, it's like a side effect of the veil. And it's kind of like, okay, that's a bit of a weak explanation that you guys kind of just brushed off. I feel like you could do more with that. I mean, Strand is literally you looking into the very strings of the literal strings of the universe, the fabric of the universe, and weaving it and bending it to your will. That is fucking cool, right? And what's the story behind it? Huh? It's like a thing made by the veil? That's, I don't know. And that doesn't work, in my opinion. And that's actually a consistent problem with Lightfall. It like doesn't work hard enough to explain things. It leaves so many things unanswered. Like the Cloud Striders. They're the protectors of Neomuna, right? Why are there only 2 of them? Like, I don't know how to say this, but you can't defend a whole ass city with just 2 fucking people. That's not going to work. Now I know that like the Neomunies were working in like active defense roles and things like that from their Cloud Arc, whatever, right? And I also know that that there were like turrets and stuff, and we do see like artillery and things happening, but they're so vague with it. And then we see a mural of all these different Cloud Striders. Where are they? Are they dead? Did they all die in the opening of Callus's invasion? Is it just is it just Nimbus and Rohan left? Are there just a ton of other Cloud Striders out there and we just happen to not see them? What's going on? Now, I know that there's Neomuna lore. As of recording this, I'm still looking into it. I'm still reading it. I'm still getting the lore books and things like that. So all these things are probably going to be answered. But, like, it's as it's presented in Lightfall, Bungie didn't do a good job of addressing that. The defense of Neomuna. Alright, so then the next thing is, like, the Vex. Why are the Vex here? Why? And it's implied that the Vex have been there for a while, but, like, why? You know, Beyond Light, it makes sense as to why the Vex were there. It was just an expedition that the Vex had, and the Vex decided to move on to things like Mercury, Venus, Mars, Nessus, and Europa was kind of just like an abandoned thing with a couple of like Vex stuff left behind, but for the most part it wasn't there. And the Vex came back because Aramis went fucking wild and opened a portal. Why she opened the portal, we don't know. That was one of the weirder, less talked about parts. But as the Vex themselves, it makes sense. Okay, why are they in Neomuna? What? Why? Can we get a pin on that? And we aren't told why. Or the Veil, the biggest one. The Veil, what is it? Why is it so important? What's its connection to the Traveler? What is the point of the Veil? What will it do? They never answer this, and then in the end, they like, we defeat Callus. And then all of a sudden, the Witness possesses our ghost, and the ghost goes up to stop, the possessed ghost goes up to connect with the Veil, and then the Veil does the thing, and then some weird beam happens, and the Witness opens like a triangle-shaped portal and goes into it, and the Traveler has a weird triangle shape on it now, and but what the fuck happened? What happened? We didn't see anything happen to the Traveler, as far as we know. Nothing happened. Nothing happened to our powers. The city's still here. The Coalition's still here. We didn't get fucking curb stomped. The Shadow Legion's been broken. Neomuna's fine. What happened? How did we lose? Explain to me the significance of this. This whole DLC, they were talking about the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil, the veil. What is the significance of the veil? What will happen with the veil? Show us its power. Show us its purpose. What's its connection to the Traveler? What's the purpose of it? And nah, it's a weird plant asshole that shoots a purple beam at the Traveler, and somehow that means the Witness is gonna win. Hooray! We lost. That's why it's called Lightfall, everyone. Whoa, very eventful. It's dumb. Ugh. Fuck. Fuck, I swallowed the wrong way. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Anywho. Anyways. So yeah. Lightfall's story, it wasn't bad, but like, come on. We deserve so much better. So, now we're gonna talk about, like, the gameplay. The gameplay is like a polar opposite of Lightfall. It's good. It's great. Strand is super fun. Excuse me. Strand is super fun. Strand is great. It's fun to use. It's fun to traverse things with. It's very satisfying. It looks cool. I like the new mechanics they've added on with the Shadow Legion. And the missions of Lightfall. They were fun. Like, grappling a Thresher and using that to, like, traverse from building to building. Awesome. Using a giant laser. Also, I think my favorite moment of the entire Lightfall campaign is, like, the last stand where we're fighting and we've got these turrets set up, right? And the Cabal are showing in and the player's getting overwhelmed, and then Keitel comes in with her Ascendant Guard. And so it's like this big last stand, and we're fighting, and there's more and more Cabal, and more Cabal will show up, and you're using that orbital laser thing that Nimbus has, which is so cool and very, very awesome. And then you're pulling back, and then you're forced to pull back to the stairs, and you fight some more, and some of Keitel's Ascendant Guard go down, and you pull back some more, and more Cabal show up, and then Tormentors pull up, and then, you're forced to pull back to the top of the stairs, right towards the entrance of the vault, and it's just this big, epic last stand, Hell's Reach style. You're going out with a fucking bang, and it's awesome. That was awesome. That was really, really, really cool. The Callus boss fight, at first it's kind of tame, right? Tormentor show up, some ads show up, but it's just Callus basically just being a giant colossus. And then, like, you think you kill Callus, and then all of a sudden, a giant shield shows up around you and Callus, basically trapping you in, like, this arena-style thing. And then Callus basically, his health bar regenerates! And he just says, fuck this! And he ditches the cannon that he's carrying, the Colossus cannon that he's carrying, and just pulls out, like, two gladiator blades, and fucking Leroy Jenkins is it, and you're, like, having to, like, constantly zoom around Callus with Strand while he's, like, taking swipes at you, and it's so cool. Or the tank segments. Lightfall's gameplay is easily some of the best I've ever seen with Destiny, and I absolutely love it. I love it. It is so good. Bungie, you knocked it out of the park, in my humble opinion. awesome job. If you could, like, improve the story for Final Shape, like, drastically improve the story for Final Shape, and have this level of gameplay, this amount of good gameplay, you'd have the best expansion in Destiny history. Hands fucking down. This was easily Bungie's most ambitious gameplay aspect yet. I could tell with how they designed Neomuna, how they incorporated Strand into it, everything. This is clearly Bungie's most ambitious outing yet, gameplay-wise. And it worked out. And when I compare the gameplay to the story, the gameplay goes all out. Bungie does everything in their power to just go balls to the fucking walls with the gameplay. But with the story, they're, like, cautious. They're restrained. Bungie, this is a lesson. Fucking go for it. Send it. Send it. Don't restrain yourself. Don't limit yourself. Fucking send it. Do what you did in Halo 2. Make the most badass game you could possibly make. Now, I know that the team that worked on Halo 2 isn't there, and Halo 2 had a very shitty development, and Halo 2 wound up being a fragment of what it once was. But the point is that just rule of cool. Balls to the walls. Go for it. Go for it. Do it. You got this. You could do it. I've seen what you can do when you go all out, right? You could do it. And, yeah, those are my thoughts on Lightfall. Yeah. Holy shit, this was an hour long. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. I'll see you in the Cosmos, friends.